Welcome to The Planner's Perspective with Jessie Kara. This is the podcast for wedding planners and couples navigating South Asian weddings and everything that comes with them. Culture, family dynamics, money, design, expectations, and the real conversations no one prepares you for. I'm Jessie Kara, a South Asian wedding planner and educator trusted by couples and families when things get complicated. Here we go beyond timelines and Pinterest boards and talk about what actually happens behind the scenes. If you're a planner stepping into South Asian weddings or a couple who wants to understand the process more deeply, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. If you're a wedding planner listening to this episode, especially if you've just booked your first South Asian wedding or you're thinking about saying yes to one, this conversation is for you. I want to start by saying this clearly. I am not here to scare you away from South Asian weddings. I'm here because I want you to walk in confident, educated, and prepared so you don't make the same mistakes I did. And more importantly, so you don't walk away feeling like you just paid to work this event. Most planners get into trouble with their first South Asian wedding because they assume it's going to be easy. Not simple, not straightforward, but manageable. They assume it's just a wedding with more events, more color, more people, and that assumption is where things start to fall apart. So let's talk about the three biggest mistakes I see planners make when they take on their first South Asian wedding. And I'm saying this as someone who has made every single one of them. The first mistake is underestimating the scope of work. Planning a South Asian wedding is not just planning multiple events. It's planning multiple emotionally charged events, back to back, often with little to no downtime in between. It's emotional stamina, it's decision fatigue, it's managing expectations that don't shut off between events. Clients don't just need you on the wedding day. They need you across days, across conversations, across moments where the same decision gets revisited 5 different ways. And that doesn't even touch logistics. When events are back to back at the same venue, you have to be extremely intentional with design choices so the space can be transformed quickly without compromising guest experience. When events are back to back at multiple venues, you need to have enough team, enough support, enough leadership on the ground to execute without things unraveling. And then there's hospitality. This is where many planners underestimate the scope without even realizing it. Hospitality in South Asian weddings is not about having enough food or enough servers. I want you to think about walking into a luxury hotel, not the general check-in desk, that special floor. By the second interaction, people know your name. They know what you drink. They notice that every time you leave the lounge, you grab a bottle of water. And without asking, it's waiting for you the next time. That is hospitality. And in South Asian culture, when someone comes into our home, we don't let them leave without eating or drinking. And that same level of care is expected at our events. Even if the wedding isn't in our home, we are hosting you. And hosting means making sure people are taken care of. If you don't have a sufficient team, if you don't hire enough service, or if service feels chaotic or rushed, you're jeopardizing the entire environment. I always approach events as an extension of the family. My goal is for the parents to enjoy the wedding as guests, not feel like they're still hosting. That requires planning, structure, and manpower. Which brings me to the second mistake. Relying on the couple to teach you the culture. I hear planners say all the time, it's okay, the couple said they'll tell me everything I need to know. It's going to leave that there for a moment. That becomes a problem very quickly. First, because it puts your client in the position of educator. Second, because trust can be lost very fast. If you walk in without baseline knowledge, I've seen planners take on weddings where the couple said, don't worry, we'll guide you. And then the parent who are paying start to question the planner's competence. They feel unsure. They feel uncomfortable. And sometimes they no longer want to pay for the service. Yes, I have seen that happen. Learning on the job is a thing, yes. But when you're working within a culture or religion outside of your own, you need to tread lightly. You need foundational understanding before you step in. Even within South Asian culture, there are differences that matter deeply. My parents are from one region of Punjab, drive 40 minutes in another direction and customs shift. When my husband's sister's daughter got married, I had to remind myself constantly that her in-laws were from a different region. What felt normal to me wasn't necessarily what they wanted. That awareness is what builds trust. And finally, the third mistake, undercharging. This one hurts the most. Planners undercharge for their first South Asian wedding for a few reasons. They're excited, they want the experience, they don't want to lose the booking, and sometimes the couple says things like, "You'll learn so much. You'll get booked for all of our cousins' weddings after this." Does that happen sometimes? Yes. I've done multiple families for the same wedding. Multiple weddings for the same families. I've known which child was getting married next before anyone else did. But that didn't come from discounts. That came from doing the work and doing the work well. Here's the truth. You might take the job for less because you think you're learning. But the groom's dad's sister, who's looking for a planner for her daughter's wedding, will never know you gave a discount. She won't see learning on the job. She'll see a confused, underprepared planner. And that is not how you want to represent yourself. When you undercharge, resentment builds. It shows in how you show up. It shows in what gets missed. It shows in how supported your vendor team feels. And it affects whether you ever want to do another South Asian wedding again. Before you say yes to your first South Asian wedding, I want you to pause and ask yourself something honestly. Yes, are you available? But do you have the capacity for the complexity and layers of planning a South Asian weddings? Do you have the bandwidth to work what may feel like 3 or 4 weddings back to back? And if the answer is no, that doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means you're not ready yet. And that's okay. The goal isn't to say yes to everything. The goal is to do the work well. South Asian weddings can be incredibly rewarding to plan, but only when you respect the scope, the culture, and yourself enough to prepare properly. If this episode made you pause, reassess, or think how you approach your next booking, then it did exactly what it needed to do. I'll see you in the next episode. If today's episode helped things click or gave you a new perspective, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. This podcast exists to support planners in doing their best work and to help couples feel informed, confident, and prepared as they navigate their very own South Asian wedding. If there's something specific you want me to talk about, an episode idea you'd love to hear, a planning story you want to share, or a question you're sitting with, there's a link in the show notes where you can send it all in. I promise I will read every submission, and many of them will shape future episodes. You can connect with me at www.jessiekara.com or on Instagram at jessiekara. If you're ready to navigate South Asian weddings with intention and confidence, I'll see you there. And if this podcast is supporting you in any way, I would truly appreciate you taking a moment to leave a 5-star review. It helps more planners and couples find these conversations and keep the space growing. Until next time, trust your perspective and plan with clarity.